Welcome to The Deciding Point, our Cracked Racquets weekly roundup of the biggest storylines happening from throughout the tennis world. As you can imagine, on this week's show, I'm going to recap the year's second Grand Slam, the 2021 French Open, delivering us the goods as tennis fans over the past 2 weeks in Paris. In fact, there was so much fantastic action for me to discuss. We're going to make today's show a two-parter. On this edition, I'm going to recap the men's singles draw and name a combination of 5 winners and losers I have from the event. I'm going to do the same thing for the women's singles draw in a subsequent show that all of you listeners can both hear on our Great Shot podcast feed, find on our YouTube channel as well. But again, those are the topics for this week's Deciding Point. On this show, I'm going to recap the men's singles draw. On the other show, I'm going to talk women's singles. With that in mind, Westoff, roll those credits. Let's start today's show. Just a fun topic for all of you listeners when looking back at this 2021 French Open. I don't think it was just an inflection point for the traditional next-gen ATP cohort, the Medvedev, Zverev, Tsitsipas group of players. I think this is our first glimpse at the next-gen as well and what they're capable of. And the thought exercise I want to present to all of you listeners, all of you viewers today, which generation are you taking in the long-term slam count? If I offer you, we'll say their best 5 in each group. In the next-gen category, that's Medvedev, that's Zverev, that's Tsitsipas, that's Rublev. We'll make Berrettini the 5th man there versus the next-gen group. And it's tough because Shapovalov doesn't really have a home in either of these two cohorts. Neither does de Minaur. But if I give you Sinner, Musetti, Alcaraz, FAA, and Korda. Again, that's your 5 next-gen. Sinner, FAA, Alcaraz, Musetti, and Korda taking on Medvedev, Tsitsipas, Zverev, Rublev, and Berrettini. It's an interesting count. Now, I, being a 1995er, and this is the group I've covered closest throughout my time here at Cracked Racquets, I still lean towards that next-gen group. In particular, who is closer to being ready right now? The answer is unequivocally the next-geners. We've seen Alex Zverev make a slam final. We've seen Daniil Medvedev make a slam final. We've seen Stefanos Tsitsipas make a slam final. We've seen Berrettini, Rublev, maybe not Rublev, but we've seen... Did Rublev make a semifinal at the U.S. Open? I don't think so. We've seen Berrettini in a semifinal. We've seen Rublev in quarterfinals. We've seen all of those guys linger around that round. You know, Sinner made the quarterfinals of last year's French Open, and it's clear he's got the talent. He's got the explosion. He's the leader of that next-gen group. And when I was talking to Ben Rothenberg on his No Challenges Remaining, he said, give me Sinner and I'll take anyone else against everyone else. And that's a fair wager to make now. Certainly you see the creativity, the movement of Musetti, who's won 70% of his matches across the Challenger and ATP level since the tour resumed in August. He's a guy with a lot of talent, former world junior #1. Now, the backswing's definitely a little bit big, and the quicker the surface, it's going to be interesting to see how his game reacts, but certainly he's got the athleticism and the creativity, so I don't think he's going anywhere on the other surfaces. Ditto with Carlos Alcaraz. He set, he and FAA have set all of the challenger records, or there's a short list of players. It's always Djokovic, Nadal, Del Potro, Richard Gasquet. FAA and Carlos Alcaraz are the guys who are always paired together in the challenger record books. That's how good Alcaraz was on the clay court challengers to end last season, or I should say throughout them. Now again, we haven't seen him play many hard courts, but that forehand is going to rip through any court. And his movement, again, his ability to find forehands, I think that's going to translate across surface. I think he's got a serve that's going to hang up. The second serve will hang up, but he's 18 years old. That serve's always going to get better. Physically, he'll continue to develop his creativity on that backhand side. I think it's not just a placeholder. I also think he can hit through the court off that wing as well. Korda, physically, your modern player by every definition, 6'5", fluid, huge weapons, has that edge to him as well. FA is now 0-8 in finals, but certainly, again, he set every record alongside of Alcaraz and Sinner, and then, again, that next-gen group is really, really good. There's a lot of talent amongst that group. But I probably lean still. I mean, Zverev can do it across surfaces, Medvedev across surfaces, Tsitsipas across surfaces. Rublev, we still don't really know about grass. Berrettini, certainly across surfaces, and those guys have huge weapons. I'd say Sinner and Korda have got the big weapons, still trying to figure out the rest of that next-gen group's game, but I mean, those are your 10 guys who are going to matter this decade. I think you can put them on a list, and you'll be like, those are the 10. And there will be other guys who hover around that list. But I think that's your pretty comprehensive list of the 10 that'll matter. And again, the question I posed to all of you, who wins more slams? At me, at Great Shot Pod. The next gen or the next gen cohort? Next gen being Alcaraz, Sinner, Musetti, FA, and Korda. The next gen, of course, Medvedev, Zverev, Tsitsipas, Rublev, and Berrettini. I'll take the next gen. Some of you may say otherwise. Either way, we look back at the 2021 French Open for both of those groups unequivocally a step forward. Thus, they are winners throughout this event.